Welcome to Eikei University of Hiroshima. My name is Motoko Seko, one of the opening faculty members. We're so excited that we'll be officially inaugurating this brand new university in Hiroshima in April 2021. Today, I am pleased to invite you to the online demo classroom on international cooperation, which I will be teaching at Eikei University. As you may be well aware by now, Eikei University will be established as the newest public university by the prefectural government of Hiroshima. The university is established in order to nurture young people like you, who will be our future leaders locally and globally. Some of you may also become a development worker who will be working in the field of international development and cooperation, just like I did for the last 20 years in 9 countries I've worked. As a young global citizens, you may be wondering what international cooperation really is. I would give an intro lecture on the topic today, followed by sample assignments for you to see what to expect in the Eikei classroom. Before starting my short lecture, let me briefly mention how you are going to learn at Eikei University. This is also a disclaimer that I will be only showing a part of the classroom experience today. Upon inauguration in April 2021, we will be offering courses that are uniquely designed to respond to the needs of an unforeseeable future. We will be fully bilingual institution, and we welcome international students from the world, irrespective of their Japanese proficiencies. You don't have to be fluent in Japanese to be admitted, to take classes for credits, and for graduating with bachelor's degree in social system design. The curriculum is SDGs oriented, and it is complemented with skill building courses such as ICT and design thinking. All courses at Eikei University will be delivered with active learning methods. Unlike conventional passive learning, students will be encouraged to participate actively in the classroom and learn by doing. You will be learning the subject deeply while interacting with others and connecting the learning of today to previous knowledge and experiences. We will challenge your thinking skills that shall contribute to building your competencies as you continue studying in Eikei. As a demonstration classroom, you're only going to experience the mini lecture part today, which is highlighted in yellow in this diagram. If this was a real life course, I would have assigned a pre-class reading material, which would help you to understand the context of my lecture better. After the short lecture, I shall give you a group work to complete with your classmates, followed by sharing your understanding with the rest of the class thereafter. With this kind of active learning method, you will have more time to think for yourself and apply knowledge to issue that of your interest to deepen your understanding. If this was a real classroom, these are the reading materials that I would have requested you to read prior to the class. One is Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the infographic overview section of the United Nations SDGs report in 2020 to understand where the world stands vis-a-vis each SDG goals and target, as well as implication of COVID-19 global pandemic on SDGs. So anyway, without further ado, let's dive into the basics of international cooperation in the SDGs era. When we say international cooperation, it is often the case that people are not necessarily talking about the same activities. In broader context, it can be any type of cooperation that engages more than two countries. I've listed just a few of them: official, unofficial, bilateral, multilateral, for-profit, non-profit, development, financial, South-South, that are just few. They all can be considered types of international cooperation undertaken by such a diverse kind of actors in this field. However, we often use the term international cooperation in more limited context. In many cases, it is used interchangeably with development cooperation, which is usually the transfer of various resources, including financial resources, technologies and capacities, and policy framework, etc., from the developed countries to support the developing countries to self-growth. Some of international cooperation are not necessarily development cooperation. For example, military cooperation within multiple countries, or development of global public goods, such as joint development of COVID-19 vaccines is happening right now. Again, the actors who enable such transfer of resources vary. Some are traditional government that provide official development assistance or ODA, and others can be private entities or NGOs. Someone asked me before whether international action on sustainable development taken together by several developed or advanced economy nations is international cooperation. I would say yes. One such cooperation can be a reduction of CO2 emission by regulating particular industries, for example. But it is not going to be considered as development cooperation, since it doesn't engage developing countries in the action. So this is international cooperation, but not necessarily the development cooperation. Okay. Meanwhile, let's consider who are the key actors in international cooperation. There are governments, both developing and in developed countries, who are probably the main actors of the cooperation to date. There are also international organizations like United Nations and its funds and agencies that set global standards in different areas. There are development banks such as World Bank that gives or lend money to governments for development work. And there are also bilateral development agencies, including one from Japan, which is called JICA, where I used to belong. You might have heard a lot of philanthropy organizations in recent months. For example, Gates Foundation that also became so visible and vocal actor in development work. We have also tremendous amount of work that are done by international and local NGOs for social services, while faith-based organizations helped countries delivering social services, especially in so-called basic human needs area, for example, health and education. Of course, we wouldn't be complete without having local communities and groups of beneficiaries engaged in this entire international cooperation cycle. In 2020, a significant change has been also observed. More than 650,000 individuals and private companies have directly contributed financially to the global response to COVID-19 through the new international funding platform created to help financing work done by the World Health Organization, or WHO. It was the first time that individual contributions were gathered for WHO and used for the global issues of this scale. But with this success, this type of fundraising may become more commonly available and used for for addressing other issues of global concerns. However, the biggest donor to the international international cooperation and development work continues to be the countries with advanced economy, I often call developed countries, and international organizations. About 19 billion US dollars had been committed or mobilized in order to fight the global pandemic of COVID-19 so far, especially in support of developing countries to respond as well. At the same time, the development cooperation will not be an aid only. So from aid to work partnership, it is the time to be partnership-based efforts across country to strive in the world. Given the time constraints, let me focus on development cooperation within the broader framework of international cooperation for now. You don't necessarily need to know these details, but the slides are showing the summary of development cooperation used by the United Nations and its partners. As you see, it is much more focused in terms of what types of cross-national cooperation can be called development cooperation. It is not only the matter of action that engage or not engage the developing countries. The objectives of development cooperation should be on helping developing countries to strive so that they can provide social basic standards to their people, fulfilling basic human rights of each individual. That is quite long to say. It has to be also empowerment-based and pro-poor action without rich countries dictating developing countries what to do. At the end of the day, it is international cooperation based on partnership to work together in order to achieve common goals and priorities. Then the question is, what are those international development priorities and how these priorities are set? And what are the minimum requirements as public services for people in line with concept of basic human rights? The answer is globally agreed goals and targets. This is why SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals become necessary and relevant as guiding principles for international cooperation. Global goals are not only set for the sake of setting goals. These global goals are jointly agreed priorities, so you don't need to persuade other countries to take action on those matters because it's already prioritized and committed. Thanks to these common goals, it is easier for both developed and developing countries to work together to achieve common goals and addressing existing problems effectively and benefiting the maximum number of people by coordinating international support. And SDGs are the latest set of such globally agreed goals. SDGs were adopted in 2015 as a set of common global goals. The SDGs were discussed and agreed based on the lessons learned from previous 15 years of global efforts to achieve Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs that we called. And we added more goals in SDGs in order to address broader sets of challenges of the current time. However, the SDGs are more focused on sustainability that needs to be addressed both in developing and developed nations. The SDGs are unique in also setting human rights and equity as cornerstones of the sustainable development. So with the slogan of leaving no one behind, I think you might have heard about it in the past. This is a global promise that people need to be served equally as per the individual right to life and development, which is stipulated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. So here are 17 SDGs. You might have seen these logos too. It's really colorful and nice. You see a number of goals ending global problems, such as poverty, hunger, irresponsible consumption, and inequality between genders and among individuals. These are also there are also goals that commit taking further action to ensure universal access to quality social services such as healthcare and education. Strong focus on environment and peace and security is also visible among those goals. One thing it is worth noting is that most of those goals are interlinked with each other. For example, you wouldn't achieve good health without access to clean water. There will be no universal education in place where girls are not raised with same opportunities as boys. Of course, we wouldn't see global action against climate change without partnerships. So these are how the goals are interlinked and worked together. As I said in the previous slides, SDGs were set from the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development that was adopted by more than 150 member states of the United Nations. I'm quite sure that you are from one of those countries, and thus your country is either committed to achieve these goals or committed to help other countries achieve these goals. It'll be quite interesting to see how these SDGs are translated into each country's national development policy and programs, or in foreign affairs policy, so that specific action would be taken in order to achieve these goals. For the countries with advanced economies, some of SDGs are equally applicable in order to reduce inequity within the country. It is also noted that the Partnership for Sustainable Development will be important for the developed countries so that advancement will be done most effectively and sustainably. Before I finish this introduction lecture, let me add one more slide on recent challenges posed by the COVID-19 global pandemic and international cooperation and SDGs. The global pandemic this year had caused so much changes in the international cooperation landscape. We are no longer able to travel easily to other parts of the world to discuss, to see the needs, to work together, and to achieve the common goals together. Lots of governments that had contributed to international cooperation find challenges of financing international work too, as domestic needs for resources are skyrocketing. We are also seeing more and more people going into poverty or food scare due to economic consequences of the pandemic. In some annual progress reports on selected SDGs, it is said that decades of development gains have been wiped out due to the pandemic, unfortunately. However, the pandemic also reminded us that not a single country will be immune from the global pandemic when other countries are facing challenges. You would need to cooperate with other countries in order to win the fight in your own country. I believe that this pandemic, at the end of the day, was a reminder to all of us that countries are more connected and interdependent to each other than we believed it were, and that international cooperation is important and necessary. Also, this is continued to be a challenge of leaving no one behind, as we promised with SDGs in order to overcome this global pandemic. Okay, this is the end of my introduction lecture on international cooperation and SDGs. In the real-life classroom, I would give you now some assignments for your individual and group work, just like these. This will be your time to think yourself and discuss it with your peers to learn by doing. And I would also suggest students to continue learning on this subject with these further reading materials to be shared. Thank you. This is my last slide for today. I hope you had some idea what the classroom in Eikei University is like. And if you are interested in studying with us, please visit our website or JPSS site for further information. You can also send us any inquiry by email to our Office of International Students to the address shown on the screen. Thank you for viewing this, and see you in the near future in Hiroshima. Goodbye and sayonara.